Hey guys, how's it going? Jared Bronstein here, and welcome back to Life's Biggest Questions. Today we'll be talking about the great Tsathoggua, an old one whose appearance, behavior, and all-around being depends on which version you're talking about. Before we get into it, make sure to subscribe, click the bell icon to never miss a video, and let me know in the comments below which Lovecraft creature is your favorite. And now let's dive into it and explore our world if we were fearing the great old one, Tsathoggua. There's the original written by Clark Ashton Smith, who describes Tsathoggua as the following. He was very squat and pot-bellied, his head was more like a monstrous toad than a deity, and his whole body was covered with an imitation of short fur, giving somehow a vague sensation of both the bat and the sloth. His sleepy eyelids were half lowered over his globular eyes. The tip of a queer tongue issued from his fat mouth. Smith's version was also referred to as sloth-like in the Seven Geeses, as explained in the following passage. You shall know Tsathoggua by his great girth and his bat-like furriness, and the look of a sleepy black toad, which he has eternally. He will rise not from his place, even in the ravening of hunger, but will wait in divine slothfulness for the sacrifice. Lovecraft's version is somewhat similar, however HP decided to move away from the sloth and bat-like references. More specifically, Lovecraft refers to Tsathoggua as a toad-like god who can morph or mold itself depending on its circumstances. Either way, if this old god did exist, one thing is for sure, it'd be quite powerful. However, it may not be as much of a danger to society as we'd like to think. The true form of Tsathoggua is incomprehensible to the human eye, but as previously mentioned, we perceived it as a giant toad-like creature with bat and sloth features as well. The only main difference between Lovecraft and Smith's version is the transformation and lack of sloth and bat-like appearances. Other than that, they're mostly the same entity. And as scary of a monster as it may be, it seems Tsathoggua laziness would be the reason we wouldn't have much to worry about. More specifically, Tsathoggua is apparently so lazy it won't go after victims. Instead, even if it's being starved to death, Tsathoggua will wait for a sacrifice so it doesn't need to get up. It may sound silly, but this is what we're dealing with here, guys. According to Tsathoggua history, it resides in the depths of Earth. More specifically, in Lovecraft's Cthulhu mythos, Tsathoggua lives in Nikai, which is an underground cave beneath Oklahoma in the United States. But if this thing were living below Oklahoma, it's not like all the residents of the state would be in imminent danger. As previously mentioned, Tsathoggua is extremely lazy and will wait to get a sacrifice before it hunts for its own victims, so it wouldn't really take over the state, nor would it try to take over the entire country. Really, Tsathoggua being a real entity wouldn't affect us as much as we may think, aside from the fact that, of course, people may try to explore the dangerous land that Tsathoggua calls home, in which they'd most likely become his sacrifice. There's also the realistic possibility that we'd want to study this godlike creature. Where did it come from? Well, technically space, and it lived on Saturn at one point, so does that make this great old one an alien? Yes, depending who you ask. We'd certainly want to know more about Tsathoggua, and this could lead to many casualties and money wasted. With the presence of Tsathoggua, well, that must mean that the other great old ones, such as Cthulhu, would certainly exist in our world as well. This would most definitely be problematic, considering most of H.P. Lovecraft's work, if not all, revolves around these monstrous creatures that have godlike abilities. Put simply, if all of H.P. Lovecraft's creations, or at least monsters that he has incorporated into his magical world, were real, we would certainly be doomed. Specifically speaking on Tsathoggua, well, it appears that we're not in much danger. Tsathoggua is lazy and apparently quite slow. It lives in the depths of the earth that no one would be able to go to and survive. But it seems Tsathoggua being a part of our world inevitably means there are other godly creatures that we would certainly be no match for. All in all, we'd either end up slaves to some of these gods or dead. Not sure which fate I'd rather have, probably the latter. Now, of course, before we wrap up, as always, I got some comment replies. But before we do that, let me know in the comments below which one of Lovecraft's creations, or at least stories that he's adapted, you enjoy the most. I've always been a fan of Cthulhu, but truthfully don't know much else of Lovecraft's work. Either way, Cthulhu will always have a place in my heart. Anyways, guys, let's reply to some comments from the video. What if the Megalodon fought the terrible dogfish? Greg Anthony Herrera said, dogfish versus the Kraken. I think that would be an interesting fight. Like, I think the dogfish is just such a big fish, I guess if that's what it is. Like, we're talking, like, 30,000 feet. Like, I mean, I don't know how big the Kraken is. I'd have to do more research off the top of my head, but assuming it's not 30,000 feet, although the Kraken is pretty big, so I think it could be a good fight. I don't know about 30,000 feet though, so I don't know. Monica Rulas said, how much does the universe weigh? We can't even comprehend how much a planet weighs, because how would you weigh a planet? You can't really get a weight of a, I don't know if that made much sense, but like, you can't weigh the universe. Like, that's like saying how much space is in the universe. Like, it keeps going. You don't really know. Tony Stewart said, what's SCP? Well, it's a made-up foundation. It's totally, fan-made. It's almost like creepypasta. People just submit their own SCPs. It's like a made-up monster or story, and it stands for Secure, Contain, and Protect. That's the main, I guess, goal of the foundation. Or other people say it stands for Special Containment Procedure. Either way, again, I think it kind of summarizes what the SCP is. It's just these like evil, not even necessarily evil, but it's just like alien entities or these creatures, these mutants, whatever you want to call them, that would be harmful most likely if it was available to the human race. So the SCP Foundation is almost like a government group or government organization that contains all of these creatures that were experiments gone wrong, I guess is the best way to put it. But it's very cool, so check out the SCP Foundation. Give them a good thumbs up and donate. Anyways, guys, I'm gonna wrap this one up. Again, I've been your host, Jared Bronstein. You guys have been watching Life's Biggest Questions. Make sure to subscribe and click that bell to never miss a video. Hit that thumbs up button if you guys enjoy these videos, and let me know in the comments down below which one of H.P. Lovecraft's creations or adapted monsters you guys like the most in the comments down below. I'll see you guys in the next one.